Hello, you absolute legends. This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill. Arguably the most significant event in speedrunning history is imminent. Back in 2019, a tool-assisted speedrun was created for Super Mario Bros. By the TASer known as Maru. The time achieved was 4 minutes, 54 seconds, and 265 milliseconds. This run is an amalgamation of the fastest known human viable strategies, meaning that to the best of our knowledge, with every single trick and glitch and technique that we are aware of, this is the fastest a human can beat the game. Now, when I think of tool-assisted speedruns, I tend to think of ridiculous-looking speedruns that are obviously impossible to replicate in practice, especially when we move into the later retro consoles like the Nintendo 64. No one in their right mind assumes that a human is ever going to implement whatever this is. But Super Mario Bros. Is different, because not only does the tool-assisted speedrun appear to be possible, but the world record is excruciatingly close. On the 3rd of June, the speedrunner Lukuki beat Super Mario Bros. Faster than anyone else had before, achieving a time of 4 minutes, 54 seconds, and 365 milliseconds, a tenth of a second, or just 6 frames slower than the theoretical limit.
I'm him! Dude, I can't even pop off because my dad, asked me to fuck. It is split perfectly! Dude, I'm him, dude! I got record! Oh my god, I can't even pop off properly! Let's go, dude! I don't care! Oh my god, dude! Yes!
This run was literally perfect until the final Bowser stage. 6 frames is not a lot. And mind you, these aren't 6 frames that are mysterious, magical, or otherwise impossible to achieve. Lukuki has beaten the final Bowser stage perfectly, just as fast as the tool-assisted speedrun many times already. He has even beaten it perfectly twice in a row in individual level speedruns. Even better, he has beaten the entire game perfectly starting from 4-2, including the final Bowser stage.
Dude, no way, no way, no way, no way.
Was that for 4-2? Was that for 4-2?
No way, yes it was.
Oh my god.
No way, I actually, no.
I'm picking everyone,
I know, no. What?
If you aren't catching my drift, let me make it clear. A perfect run of Super Mario Bros. Isn't just possible, it's not just a theory, it's going to happen. And it may happen soon. Super Mario Bros. Isn't just one of the most iconic speedrun games of all time, it's one of the most iconic and important video games of all time, period. If Super Mario Bros. Is beaten perfectly in the fastest way known possible, it will, in my opinion, be the most important and meaningful speedrun in history. The entire point of speedrunning is to beat a game as fast as possible, and we are on the verge of doing that very thing with one of the most beloved and historically relevant games of all time. In today's video, we will take a quick look at Lukuki's most recent run because there are some interesting things of note about the run that I've never really seen discussed before. I really hope you enjoy. You all know me as the world record-setting juggler, but unfortunately juggling just doesn't pay. Luckily, I found my calling as a feared member of a gang in the social role-playing game One State. One State is the first of its kind on mobile, mixing an open-world environment with role-playing and social interactions. In One State, the world is your oyster. You nerds can become an officer of the law, always trying to get in the way of ambitious, handsome entrepreneurs like myself, just trying to make our way in the world. What seems to be the officer problem? Sure, we might break a few laws and run over a few people here and there, but look, if I'm driving recklessly and you just happen to stumble in front of my vehicle, you can hardly blame me for that. In One State, every player you see is real. Taking a lead role and being creative is fun, but even just watching the circus unfold is pretty amusing. One State has also just released its first major update, Under Pressure, and with it comes the Dos Caminos event. The Moncada brothers, the most recognizable brothers in crime cinema, are making their presence felt in One State across the city. If you complete their tasks in both their website and in-game events, you'll unlock their cars, outfits, and much more. Don't forget you need to participate in both events or risk missing part of their collection. The update also brings with it rocks production. I mean, you could spend all day driving a cab to make some money, but why do that when you can literally produce diamonds? Just extract the raw materials, refine them into rocks, load them onto a truck, and deliver them to make a killing. One State is a really fun game where you can create legitimate connections with real people, so definitely give it a go. Plus, it'll help support this channel. Download One State by using my link in the description or scanning the QR code on screen. If you use my promo code CarlJobs, you'll also get a whopping $10,000 as a bonus on the website. Don't forget to log in daily to maximize your rewards. And if you use my code as a referral in-game, you get another $60,000 when you reach level 8. Thanks so much to OneState for sponsoring this video. I've talked about Super Mario World Records before, so I'm not going to keep repeating the same talking points I already have in the past. The game is very particular in the way it's speedrun. It's a two-dimensional game, and Mario is almost always simply running to the right. His speed is capped, and you reach that cap relatively quickly. So really, what speedruns focus on mostly is not the running itself, it's the glitches and the very technical tricks runners can do to save time in unexpected places. For example, the flagpole glitches where you skip the flag animation, or the bullet bill glitch, or getting lodged into walls, or the vine warp on 4-2. The run is mostly running, which basically anyone could do. I mean, you could literally just hold right on the control pad and run just as fast as any other speedrunner, but when you combine these with the very, very difficult and very brief techniques that shave off just enough time to save an extra frame rule, the run becomes extremely challenging. Obviously, you all know what a frame rule is by this stage. You all know the reference to the three-letter vehicle made famous by a certain speedrunner and YouTuber. I can't really remember what it was, but it might have been a car or something. But what it basically means is that the game only advances to the next level every third of a second. So if you are a frame or two ahead of another player, you'll have to wait until the next frame rule before advancing. So you end up starting the next level at the same time, no matter what. The end result is that from the first level all the way until the final Bowser stage, the best players in the world all end up at the exact same pace, and there is no known way to go any faster. The first person to get all the way to the final Bowser stage, taking advantage of every single fastest frame rule, was the player Nifsky, who achieved a perfect run all the way until 8-4, who did this and then achieved a new world record of 4:54.631.
AT.
Yes! 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 Oh my god! 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 Oh my god!
From this point on, the only real time save that could ever come from the run was the final Bowser stage, which just so happens to be the most difficult. 8-4 doesn't rely on frame rules. The time stops on the exact frame that you hit the axe at the end, and the room transitions aren't affected by frame rules either. So if you are a frame faster than someone else on 8-4, your final time is going to be a frame faster. And because 8-4 has all of these room transitions, it means that there are many more opportunities to save time with various techniques. Let's look at a different level, for example 8-1. You'll see players do this weird jump at the start where they quickly jump backwards. This is called a fast acceleration. Mario accelerates faster while in the air and facing backwards. And because you start the level from a complete standstill, if you want to reach maximum running speed as fast as you can, players take advantage of this mechanism. Fast acceleration requires a very precise series of frame-perfect inputs that both allow Mario to start moving to the right, but jumping while facing to the left. So he accelerates faster and reaches his max speed sooner. Realistically, this doesn't save all that much time, around a frame or two, but it's just enough to squeeze into the end of the level fast enough to catch an earlier frame rule, and thus it ultimately saves around a third of a second. 8-4 is unique as a level in that because there are multiple rooms and multiple pipes you have to enter, this means that every time you begin a new room, you are starting from a standstill again. This provides another opportunity to perform a fast acceleration and save another 1 or 2 frames. But as I said before, fast accelerations are very hard to execute. So in essence, this makes a perfect run exponentially more difficult because not only will the final level force you to do this extremely difficult technique multiple times, but the fact that it's the final level also makes it extremely stressful. I mean, just getting to the final stage on a perfect run is difficult enough as it is, but to then have to perform the hardest level perfectly on top of that is a massive ask. In fact, it was only 4 years ago that someone was able to pull off a perfect Bowser stage at all, even in individual level speedruns where you get to try the level over and over again. This was first done by Lukuki in 2022. So imagine that. The game is 40 years old, and it was only just a few years ago that someone was able to beat just that one level perfectly. And when it happened, this was a really big deal.
Oh my god! It's over! It's fucking over! Holy shit! Oh my god! Yes! 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 Oh my god! Oh my god! It's over! Holy shit, bro! Oh my god!
Since then, only 3 other players have been able to replicate this feat. Needless to say, a perfect 8-4 is extremely challenging. Then, on top of that, only a handful of players have been able to perform a perfect run up to 8-4 in a standard speedrun. On the current rankings, there are only 4 players who have submitted a personal best with a flawless run up until the final stage: Lukuki, Averge11, Nifsky, and King of Johnny Boy. So what you end up having is a very small group of players who can even reach the end on task pace, and then an even smaller group of players who have even done 8-4 perfectly, just repeating that level over and over again. When you put these two factors together, what you end up having is a theoretical speedrun that, while it is obviously possible, is also utterly ridiculous. When you watch the original world record by Nifsky in 2023, who was the first person to achieve a world record with a perfect run up until the final Bowser stage, you'll see that he really doesn't use fast accelerations for almost the entire level. Every time Nifsky rises from a pipe and is forced to reset from a standstill, he just runs forward normally, which is completely understandable. I mean, there is no way you would risk these insanely difficult tricks to save a couple of frames when you're already a third of a second faster than anyone else has ever been. Since then, as more runs made it to the end on task pace, players like Nifsky and Averge11 slowly and surely started implementing more fast accelerations one at a time to lower the record in very small incremental steps. And this leads us to the most recent record by Lukuki this month, and this run is only 6 frames away from perfection. Now, before we get into where these 6 frames can be saved, there is one really interesting point that I want to shine a light on. The 2 previous world record holders, Nifsky and Averge11, you'll notice were playing on keyboard. Now, I know a lot of casual viewers have the opinion that keyboards are superior to a controller or might give the player an advantage. But ironically, the opposite is likely true. There is something unique about a controller that sets it apart from a keyboard, and that is the way the D-pad functions. On a standard D-pad, you can't press left and right at the same time because it effectively acts as a seesaw. There is a pivot point right in the center, so when you press right, the left side of the D-pad raises up. In order to press left and right at the same time, you'd basically have to snap the D-pad in half or make some major physical alteration. And that's why when people play on keyboard, if they do end up pressing left and right at the same time, the software they use cancels out their inputs completely because it breaks the speedrunning community rules, which state that pressing left and right is illegal because you can't do it on the original controller. And so the software they use has a built-in mechanism to stop this from happening. I have seen many comments of people thinking that keyboard is superior, and perhaps at a certain time it was. But over the last few years, things have changed. When controller players started to realize that they could take advantage of the unique hardware in a very specific way that would allow them to perform certain techniques easier. And really, the genesis for this new revolution of controller superiority came from the player 3Creepio. Back in 2021, 3Creepio released a video highlighting a very obscure flagpole glitch that can only be performed on the PAL console. But look at the way he is holding the controller. This is not standard at all. He's holding down right with his right hand thumb, then flicking left very quickly with his left hand. This is because the trick involves back-to-back frame-perfect changes in direction. You basically have to hit right, then left, then right, then left in successive frames, which seems almost impossible, but he figured out how to do it by holding down right with his right hand and then flicking twice with his index and middle fingers extremely quickly. And ironically, the thing that makes this possible is the very fact that the controller cannot hit left and right at the same time, because of that pivot point I mentioned before. But that pivot point now introduces a physical mechanism to where you can alternate between left and right very quickly without having to risk hitting both at the same time. This was revolutionary. This grip was dubbed the Creepio grip, and with this novel way of holding the controller players were now able to perform certain techniques easier than players could on keyboard. When you watch Lukuki play, who only plays on a controller, you'll see him switch to a variety of different grips all throughout the run, which historically didn't really happen. For almost 20 years, players just held the controller regularly. This is similar to what happened in Tetris, where a revolutionary new way to manipulate the controller allowed players to do things they didn't think were possible. In order to try and replicate this controller advantage, keyboard players started experimenting with different key bindings. You'll see in Nifsky's original runs his binds were pretty standard, though when Averge11 set his new world record, you can see that his bindings were much closer together, in order to allow him to use certain finger techniques that were adapted from controller players. So to put this issue to bed, as of right now, it appears as though real controllers may have a slight edge over keyboards. This is why we have also started to see the top keyboard players even switch between keyboard and controller mid-run in order to do specific techniques. And I have to say, as a purist, I love the fact that controllers are coming back into fashion. But let's get back to Lukuki's new amazing run. There are 6 frames to save in the run, so where exactly are they? The first is on these stairs at the very start of the level. By executing a frame-perfect second jump off the stairs, you can remain facing backwards and therefore accelerate a little bit faster. This technique saves a single frame. In the second room, Lukuki actually lost a frame by pressing left 1 frame earlier coming out of the pipe, and therefore when he fell from the pipe he was facing to the right. This is not what you want. Remember, while you're in the air, Mario accelerates faster when facing backwards, so when you fall off the pipe, you want to be facing to the left. And in Lukuki's run, he was facing to the right. In the third room, there are 2 fast acceleration jumps you can perform after coming out of the pipe. Lukuki did the first, but not the second, so he could save 1 more frame doing that second jump. And following on from this, if you do the second fast acceleration jump off the pipe, due to very technical reasons that are over my head and would be impossible for me to explain, this allows you to stop earlier when doing the turnaround to enter the next pipe that leads to the water level. And because you can stop earlier, you can save another frame. This technical reason is definitely something that someone like Bismuth would be better suited to cover if he hasn't already. And finally, after coming out of the final pipe, Lukuki could have saved 2 more frames by doing a fast acceleration jump here. Now, on this particular run, Lukuki executed the strategies he wanted to use. He knew exactly what he wanted to do going into this stage. It's not as if he tried to do the strategies and failed, he implemented the plan he already knew he was going to do well in advance. He made a strategic choice to not attempt these extra jumps because the odds of failure increases the more techniques you seek to include, and if you fail one of these extra jumps, the run could be dead. But now, after achieving this run, there really seems to be no reason to hold back. Lukuki is so close that there really is no point in just not going for supreme glory. A perfect Super Mario Bros. Run will be, in my opinion, the most important speedrun in history. As I said right at the beginning, it's one of the most iconic games ever. It's one of the most popular speedrunning games ever. And think about it, the point of speedrunning is to beat a game as quickly as possible, and Lukuki and other top players are on the brink of doing exactly that. Beating Super Mario Bros. As quickly as possible is literally the pinnacle of speedrunning. It captures the very essence of its philosophy, and trust me, this is going to happen. And as of right now, it doesn't seem like we are too far away. A massive congratulations to Lukuki for this amazing run. Please, I beg you, go and follow him on Twitch to watch his attempts. He isn't even partner on Twitch, which is a crime against humanity. Thank you so much for watching, you legends. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next video.